that sound?
Sweet.
So, Lindsay, you are an expert in hope.
I am an expert in hope.
So here we are in the middle of pandemic, and people need hope now more than ever. What words of wisdom are you shelling out?
Nothing like a global pandemic to help further my cause. I think there are so many parts of hope that can be really used and are really, really important at this time, especially because, to me, hope is very actionable. Hope implies action, in fact. And keep in mind that the definition of hope can be very different for every person, but my definition is the positive expectation of future results based on taking action over the things I can control. Mm-hmm. So the three keywords there are future, action, and control. Mm-hmm. And I think if we specifically relate it to the global pandemic, the future is uncertain. There's a whole crap ton we cannot control. But if we don't take action to kind of control what we can control and make our personal future better than it is today, then it is going to be a hopeless scenario for us. Mm-hmm. We could very easily get into that overwhelmed place of not being able to function at all, just because it's just too much. And so that's why I really love holding on to hope at this time, because if you can focus on things you can control and take even little baby small actions like drinking enough water and moving your body every day, things that you kind of take for granted otherwise, if we can really focus on some of those things, our future absolutely will be better than it is today.
Mm-hmm. I like what you're saying. Yeah, what I'm hearing, when I turn on the news, it's all speculation and fear. And they were interviewing some people the other day on CBC, and including, I think they had a 15-year-old kid on there, and he was full of anxiety. And that's what I'm getting from people. I run into people and they're like, they're just really scared and they're speculating. And they're like, well, it could be like this, and it could be like this, and it could be like this. And that whole, living in an unknown future and staying in fear of things that you can't control seems to be pretty darn pervasive.
Oh man.
And this poor kid on the news, he was talking about his family has like a 24-hour news cycle running, which, I mean, they're talking crisis every third word. And I understand why they're doing that, but I wouldn't suggest that it's super healthy to spend a lot of time there. And so what kind of things, you said like drinking enough water, what sort of things have you done to take action over things that you can control?
Yeah.
To have hope.
So I really think someone suggested it to me today that I think we're feeling a lot of grief right now, varying degrees. And though, there's the 5 stages of grief, that really we can characterize how we're feeling right now on one of those 5 stages. And you probably moved through those 5 stages as well. But the point is that I think we're grieving for the future we thought we knew, for the structure we used to have, for the routines and the people we used to spend time with, the uncertainty of what's to come. And so I think the biggest thing for me has been to focus on some of the big things as well as the little things, but the things that I can control, like drinking water, not only because it's good for my body, but someone out there, some place said that if you can drink water, it helps to clean out your mouth and any virus particles that might be in there and not in your stomach, and the stomach acids will take care of it. Whether that's true or not, what does it hurt to drink more water? What if it's cool? What if it helps? So I'm also sticking to routine, putting some sort of structure. So I know you and I talked a little bit about that before we started recording. It's been so important for me to still get up at the same time, to have a shower, to get dressed, to take a break for lunch, to workout. I mean, the timing of all of those things might look different now because you're not so rushed, and maybe you've got kids at home and things like that. But finding a routine and sticking to that routine that works in this new normal, air quotes that you can't see, is, I think, really super key as well. So keep the structure, drink lots of water. If you need to change your mood, have a dance party. Like, just move your body. It doesn't take very much. My sister had mentioned how at one point last week, she put on her noise canceling headphones, blasted the music, and literally danced around her living room. And just to shake it out and get that, those endorphins going, and just what a stress relief that was for her. And again, it seems ridiculous. It seems so simple, but think about how much joy you feel when you see other people dancing, when you see, you know, when you're at a wedding and it's doing the chicken dance and you're rolling your eyes, but it's joyful, right? That just changes your mood so quickly and so easily. And it's something that we can all do regardless of really how we're feeling. Yeah, those are some really key ones that I know have been working for me. And then one of the other things that I think is really important, you mentioned the 24-hour news cycle. I don't believe that to be healthy at all. I also don't believe that getting our news off Facebook and Instagram is the way to go. I think we should get our news from, you know, the Alberta Health Services and the CDC. And that's kind of it. Like, you know, we need to know how to take care of ourselves. We need to know of any new restrictions, and we need to know where to go if we need help. I feel like there's not much else we need to know every day, all day long. You know, just get enough to stay informed and stay protected, and then let it go for another 24 hours or whatever that looks like for you. Yeah, I think sort of restriction there is key.
That's a good point. You know, you're talking about rinsing your mouth with water. My neighbor was joking with me. She said, you know, this is the perfect time to be drinking wine because it will kill any bacteria in your throat.
Yes.
So
don't even mess around.
And don't mess around. So yeah, which was making me laugh. I'm like, yeah, okay, that I can get on board with that. We can drink wine. Yeah, and people are, you know, this is a time when I've really had to reflect on, what do I need? Like, I have been somewhat going through my life on autopilot a little bit. I had some routines, and I didn't necessarily even really think about the routines and why I was doing them or why they mattered to me. And then suddenly having that all just be reset has really forced me to sit down and think about, okay, so what do I need? So if I'm, you know, like I say, shuffling around here feeling hopeless, you know, what do I need to put in place to feel good and feel positive and feel productive and like giving to others, you know, which I think is where I want to get to, right? I feel best when I'm, you know, living my purpose, which I think is supporting other people. And so I had to really think about, okay, so if I'm an extrovert and I live alone, and it is alone, I need to book calls, lots of Zoom calls with lots of people during the day. And it's been awesome, actually. It's been awesome. And lots of social stuff going on Zoom too. Like, my family's having a Zoom party tomorrow night. So fun. I've got friends across the country that I went to high school with. We're having a Zoom party Sunday night. I haven't seen them in a couple of years. Like, this is awesome. I'm gonna catch up with people I haven't talked to in a long time. And then to your point too, I turned on the radio last night. I turned on CBC, and mercifully, it wasn't the news or a show about COVID-19. It was an old episode of Q. And this woman was talking about, I don't know, writing a book or sports or something, whatever it was. And it was just like, oh, there we go. Some arts, you know, like you say, getting up and dancing, something besides this. Yes. Because, I mean, so remember when we talked before in December, I had said to you, I'm going to start this podcast. And I think, you know, the only question I'm going to ask is, what's on your mind lately? You know, and that's come to a crashing halt, because this is all that's on anybody's mind lately. That's right. So how do I get people to think about their interests outside of what their day-to-day and how it's changed. So on that note, tell us about yourself and how you got into, well, I might actually have that on another episode, so maybe I don't want to do that. What was on your mind before this hit? Do you remember?
Well, yes, because I went to a conference, a personal development conference in Toronto, literally the weekend before it all hit the fan in Canada. And the content and concepts and thought-provoking things that came out of that conference have come up a lot since, as coping mechanisms and whatever, but also life-related things. So the reason that we went to this conference, my sister told me that we had to go last July. So it was long planned, long before we went. Clearly, there was no global pandemic even as an apple in anyone's eye at that point. And so we were going because it was this author that we really liked and liked her lessons and her teachings, and what the hell, let's just go. But one of the things that really came out of there for me was the feeling of intentionality. And I think I was thinking about that as you were speaking as well. Like, I think the more intentional we are, the better off we're going to be. And even if it's, I feel like this pandemic has really jump-started that for a lot of people that work at a conference or don't read as many personal development books as I do, or in those things. It's kickstarting a lot of people to think this way. But regardless, it's like, it is that, what do I need? What do I don't need? One of the quotes that I heard at the conference, and I looked it up so I could make sure to get it right, is, what am I giving life to that is not giving life in return?
Ooh.
Right? That's
a good question.
So this, one of the speakers is this guy called Trent Shelton, who's an ex-NFLer, and he has a podcast and he's a speaker. And actually his product, his service is about recovery. So you totally be into it. But anyway, this was a quote from him. This was one of his big messages in his keynote, is to give some thought to what isn't serving you. What are you doing by rote? What are you doing because somebody told you had to, or you're meeting someone else's expectations, or that kind of thing. And we shouldn't have to have forced isolation to have the time and space to think about those things. And so I was trying, before all this happened, to get more intentional and to be more reflective on some of the things that were in my life that that maybe I was doing because of a reason other than because it was something I really wanted to do.
That's a great question. And I think of it when you read it, giving life to, I substitute the word energy, right? Because energy is life for me. It's so, I think about all the things that I put energy into that don't energize me in return. And I think, ooh, that's such a good question. And this is a great time to reflect on it. And we do have some time to do that now. What was the conference, and who was the speaker that you went to see?
So the conference is called OurISE, RISE, and the speaker is Rachel Hollis. So she has written a number of books, but her two most popular books are called Girl, Wash Your Face and Girl, Stop Apologizing. And when Girl, Wash Your Face came out, I wasn't really interested. I checked out her social media. I checked out some of her PR related stuff, and I wasn't super keen. Cool message, but she wasn't I didn't feel like she was that authentic. She wasn't coming across super authentic. And so, but at the time I was doing some coaching with a woman, and I thought there was something in this woman's life that I couldn't relate to on a personal level, and I wanted to learn more. And so I picked up Girl, Stop Apologizing. I listened to this book, like an audiobook, and I kid you not, I talked out loud to this book in my car. Like it resonated so well. I remember at one point she said something along the lines of, she was talking about goal setting, which is right up my alley. And she was talking about setting goals. And in my head, I went, you're right. I need to do that starting on Monday. Out loud in the car, it goes, not Monday, now. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Are you in my head?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So anyway, that book really resonated with me. And so when this conference came out, my sister was a huge fan, and she said, let's just go. And it was 3 days of like incredible deep work. The themes of each of the days were own your present, own your past, own your present, own your future. And regardless of where you were in your life from a personal place, you would have got something out of, for sure, out of each of the 3 days, but one of the days would have resonated with you really, really strongly. Like day 3 was huge for me because I'm a big goal setter, and I've got crazy goals that people think I'm outrageous to even think that I could accomplish them, which is, you know, kind of Rachel's thing. So I definitely resonated there. There was lots of people who really wanted to work on their past and really dug deep to address some of those kinds of things. And it was a very powerful experience. And I went with my sister, and she and I each brought a friend, and the 4 of us bonded really, really well, on a really cool, deep level. And we still have a chat that we get together and, you know, share inspiration or share tough times. And, you know, it was really cool. Yeah,
That's
really neat.
awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
You're making me think back to what I did just before the pandemic hit. So, just a second. I think I might sneeze. Hold on. Excuse me.
You.
I'm not sick. I swear to God. I just had some.
No shame here.
So I went on a retreat the weekend before, you know, Starbucks shut down. Like before they went to grab and go service only. That's my timeline gauge is where's Starbucks? What's Starbucks doing? So I went into this retreat for 4 days, and you know, I went into the retreat and the world was one way, and I came out of the retreat and it was another way, and I was like, whoa, what happened here? Yeah, like the world has changed in 4 days. And my retreat was I guess a little different than what you're describing, and it was a spiritual retreat, and it was all, you know, I went in there with the intention to recognize and learn how to separate myself from my ego, which is full of stories about who I am and how I fit into the world, and how everybody else is and how they are, and, you know, all my judgments and my stories that get me stuck and unable to let go of old shit, you know, like just was like, oh, I'm so done with this stuff. And I was starting to see it in myself in the weeks leading up to the retreat, increasingly, the ways that my ego tries to sustain itself in such a shallow and non-authentic way, you know, like really the ways that I would drop hints, you know, that I wanted people to know things about me so that they could go, wow, you know, just all the silly little things that I was getting aggravated by it and embarrassed by it. And it was driving me bananas. And so off I went to this retreat. Man, it was hard work. It was 4 days of really tough slogging, I would say. And what I came out with was the realization of how resistant I am to just about everything. Yeah, like I fight, man. I'm a fighter. I fight everything. And there's some gift in that, but it's also keeping me quite stuck. And so I've had some interesting realizations, and I think that it has helped me to adjust to this zombie apocalypse that we're experiencing, right? Like just this, like, okay, so, you know, what am I fighting here? What can I accept? What can I, you know, what let go of the things, you know, who are you? What do you really need? What do you really need? And can you sit down and meditate? And why are you avoiding it? And, you know, what's the gift in the stillness that you're experiencing right now? And, like you said, where's the, like, what are you giving energy to that's not giving you energy back? Why are you fighting what you know you need to be doing? And why are you, like, I don't know. It's all, I think there's going to be some really, really cool lessons learned in this experience.
Oh man.
Yeah, big time. I feel like all my thoughts are kind of half baked at this point because we're just kind of, dipping our toe in the water and the experience, and kind of, I'm having little revelations every day, like, ooh.
I know I said to my husband yesterday, I think I want to do my psychology degree, and I feel like this pandemic is setting me up with research topics up the wazoo.
Oh my gosh, you could do a PhD on all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah, this is a perfect time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting stuff that's going on. And so you went to this OurISE conference, past, present, and future. That's an interesting way to divide up 3 days.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was, so 3,000 people. And how she split the days was quite good as well, where she had some keynote people. She started every day with a 10-minute dance party. And then she would teach for a couple of hours. And by teaching, she'd come into the audience and do like live sort of case studies with people in the audience. And she gave us an hour and a half for lunch, which I thought was brilliant, right? It was just that recovery time a person needed to reflect on the morning and then be sort of refreshed into the afternoon. Yeah, they do those very well. Yeah.
So when I say that I'm a fighter and I'm resistant, as soon as you said they start the day with a 10-minute dance party, I go, oh, that's so stupid. Like, that's the resistant that I'm talking about, right? This judgy part of me that's like, oh, for God's sake,
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what's the problem, Maureen? Relax. Why are you
Well, and that's the thing, because I go in there going, really, this is so lame. Are you kidding me?
Me too.
Yes, I know. But then you see 2,999 other women doing it, and you're stupid if you don't join in. And then the end of the 10 minutes, you're like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing in my life. And she said it at the very beginning. She's like, I know you think this is dumb, but when you leave here, it's the thing you'll miss the most. And I swear to God, I talk about it all the freaking time. In fact, the guy who ran the dance party is this ridiculously attractive gay man out of, they're in Austin, Texas. And he and his husband did it. Right now, they are running at noon our time every day on Instagram Live a 10-minute dance party to get people through Corona. Like,
what's his name?
Chris Chandler.
Chris Chandler on Instagram.
Yeah, you totally got to look it up. It is so good.
That is awesome. Okay, I will look it up. I will check it out every day at noon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there was stuff at this. So I find myself when I go to conferences, I go to retreats, I meet somebody who's designed to help me with something, even something that I've signed up for. And the first thing I do is start judging them, whether they're, whether I think they're any good at what they're doing. Are they even qualified? What are they doing wrong? Like, I went to this retreat, and I'm like, really? So I go in and I decide, okay, my goal is to learn to trust, right? Like, trust, let go. Like, your ego's been protecting you forever. It's done a great job. You don't need it anymore. There's nothing that can hurt you, Maureen. Like, it's okay. It's okay. The world is a safe place. It's okay to connect with people. It's all good. And so I get in there and we have this sharing circle. Well, I don't even know these people's names yet. And they're talking about, deep issues they've had. And they get around to me and I'm like, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. You want me, like, you haven't even established rapport with me. I don't even know who you are. I don't even know these people's names. And you want me to talk about, things that are troublesome for me. So this is the resistance I'm talking about. And I'm talking to myself the whole time it's going on. Your goal was to trust. You don't need the ego to protect you. It's fine. Nothing can hurt you. It shouldn't matter whether you know the guy's qualifications or he hasn't built rapport with you yet and you don't know everybody in the room. Nothing can hurt you, Maureen. Remember that. But there is a strong fight going on in my head the whole time. This is stupid. This isn't for me. These people are so woo-woo. I'm not like that. I tried it. It doesn't work. I'm leaving. Like, constant.
You and me both, sister. I would totally be of the same mind.
And I like to live up here in my head, right? And analyze and judge and evaluate. And And I'm like, the whole point of going there was to get out of that and just feel, but I don't like that. So I go back into my head and start
Totally.
judging and analyzing the whole time. And it is a wild pattern that I noticed over the weekend. And even since I came home, like I wouldn't have described myself. So this whole meditation practice, I decided, I was walking around, I think it was Sunday or Monday, and my stomach hurt. Like I was like, what have I eaten? What have I eaten that is causing me such discomfort I'm having this cramping feeling in my gut. Like, I don't know what I've done, but man, I wish I could figure it out because I won't eat that again. And I decided to meditate for 5 minutes and just focus on breathing in and out and relaxing. And as soon as I did it, I closed my eyes and I sat on the sofa and I started to notice how tense I was. I was like, holy smokes, including my gut. So I breathe in and out for 5 minutes and my stomach is not cramping or sore when I'm done. 5 minutes, Lindsay. And I thought, wow, I didn't think I was an anxious person. And I didn't think this was really affecting me in a negative way. And I thought I had it all together. But I got a lot, I'm carrying a lot of stuff here. And okay, why am I fighting meditating? And I've been fighting it all week. So it was a great experience and I'm still not doing it. And as I said, I am a slow freaking learner. Like I have to be hit over the head with a bat to get it. Like I'm like, holy shit, Maureen, what's it gonna take? So yeah, so that's how I've been digesting and trying to integrate some of the learning that I experienced over the weekend, and just noticing myself. It's like, wow, what are you up to here? What are you doing?
But I feel like you're fighting biology for one. Our brains are wired for negativity, right? We are wired to look for danger and the saber-toothed tiger. Yeah. And although we are reasonably evolved as a culture, our brains really haven't, that reptile part of our brain has not caught up to us. And so we naturally default to that fear state and that heightened awareness of looking for negativity. And so you come by it honestly. I mean, the fact that you're even cognizant of it and aware of it, and are intentional about trying to change that and look for, shift the mindset to look for more positives or to be more open-minded or whatever. You're kind of further ahead than most humans are, because most of us are still stuck with that reptilian brain. Yeah. And then I would say the other thing, isn't it amazing how obvious our mental health is connected to our physical health when we pay attention? I think that's something that we're just starting to talk about right now, is that direct connection. I mean, we talk about the gut brain and all the probiotics and all that that's going on in our brain that's being affected by the brain in our head, and which scientists have known for years, but it's just kind of getting into mainstream now. But it's so freaking powerful if we're paying attention.
Yeah, I've done, and I would say, I would have said this was insane had I not experienced it. And I still, I don't know. So what I experienced a bit of trauma as a kid, and well, I wouldn't say a lot. I've experienced a lot of trauma as a kid. And I ended up at one point going to do EMDR therapy. Do you know what EMDR therapy is? Eye movement desensitization recognition. I forget what the R is. So EMDR therapy, you're going back and forth with this eye movement, and I'm relaxed, and I'm, just comfortable in a chair at the time that I'm doing this. And suddenly I have stabbing knee pain. And I would grab my knee and I'd be like, ah. And the therapist would say, just keep going, and I go, okay, just back and forth and thinking about something. And then, ow, it's in my shoulder. And she'd say, just keep going. And I'd keep going until it was gone. And what I was told was, and I hear this a lot, is that is the pain or the trauma leaving your cells. And I mean, I would have said, kind
of like I just did.
Yeah. Sure it is. And had I not really experienced that, I would find this whole cellular trauma and cellular pain, that we store trauma in our cells. And this is the theory that, Gabor Mate writes about, that we pass it on from generation to generation. And, I would have just been like, okay, sure. But man, it is the truth. Like we hang on to stuff that we have not processed on a very, very physical level. So when you talk about the connection between mental, emotional, and physical health, yeah, like it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It is.
I interviewed a lady on my podcast her name is Dr. Tanya Kellaway, and she is a acupuncturist, and that is the only thing she focuses on is helping to solve your mental anguish, your mental issues through physical touch of acupuncture. It's incredible how the two are connected. And she talks about, and I'm going to get it totally wrong, but she talks about the nervous system and the stress response in the nervous system, and how acupuncture can interrupt the negative energy flow. She says, imagine that you're in a room and it's like a panic room, and all your senses are on high, you're feeling awful, your anxiety's through the roof, and you can't get out, there's no door. The work she does in acupuncture is to open the doors, to first create the door and then open the door, so that you can break that cycle of panic and anxiety and tension. And it's physiological, like it's not woo-woo, it's physiological, and it's so cool.
Yeah,
so
it is cool.
Yeah.
It is interesting. And like I say, had I not experienced that therapy, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it worked. Like I have every memory of incidents, but they don't hold the same emotional weight that they used to. So the triggers that I used to have, or the stimulants, things that used to stimulate memories and the strong associations that I had, are gone. And so cool. It's just been it's been a gift. And so now, yeah, but the skeptic in me is wild, because here I go to this retreat, and they're talking about the same stuff. And I'm like, oh, please. Like, there's people vomiting and they're like, oh, you're purging the pain. And I'm like, come on, she's just vomiting. Like, give me a break. Like, good Lord, people. But anyway, oh man.
How did you feel at the end of it? Did you come out a believer?
No, because I think it's going to take me a while to digest it. So what happened was, the retreat ended Monday morning. It's probably ended around 11 a.m. And I woke up to a message that my dog had died.
Oh my God.
During the night. So I ended up, it was shocking and awful, actually. It was awful. And so I, started crying, of course, and sobbing, and couldn't think straight, and packing up my things and trying to tell people why I was packing up my things at 7 a.m. while people were sleeping. And I'm trying to get my noisy shit out of there and pack up my car and get out, when everyone was supposed to be doing other things. And then driving home for 3 or 4 hours. And so I was sort of yanked back into the world before I was kind of ready.
Yeah, and you didn't get that decompression.
I didn't get the decompression, and not really a chance to pull it all together. So I didn't walk out a believer. I walked out sad and overwhelmed, and then spent, then we're in pandemic, and I'm making arrangements for my dog, and trying to deal with pandemic as well. I think that's why my gut was so crampy. And so it's taking me a while to sort of digest what happened, what are my takeaways, how do I want to be changed by this, what am I willing to do, am I willing to do the ongoing work to make it worthwhile, and adjust to the new reality. So there's been an awful lot going on. So I think I'm glad I went. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful for the insights that I do have. I don't know if I would ever do it again, because like I say, it was really, really tough. I might. I didn't like it. It wasn't
Hard
fun.
stuff usually isn't any fun.
Yeah, it wasn't any fun. And you're triggered the whole weekend. You know, everybody there is being triggered by somebody. So I wanted to murder people.
Yeah, that seems fair.
People deserve to die for sure. You know, for breathing loud or whatever their crime was at the time. I don't know, but
That's right.
you know, whatever.
Teeth to fork. Yep. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you need to die. Yeah. So there's a lot going on there. I think I'm going to be a while pulling it all together, actually. So yeah, check in with me in a few months, probably. Like there was a lot happening.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the really key things is, even though the world is on fire, there's still life that's happening. Like your dog dying, my girlfriend's having a baby, you know, people still have their diagnosed mental illness, regardless of their situational mental well-being issues that are going on right now, right? Like people are still dying of regular things, let alone dying of the virus, you know? And I think we forget. I think that we're so, like you say, so consumed with nothing but freaking corona right now that we're forgetting about that other stuff, like base business, so to speak.
Yeah.
And no wonder, like you aren't able to process what happened that weekend because you were stuck right into this drama of the world.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I think it's, again, to be intentional about recognizing that and maybe, you know, I also think we're moving through, I wrote a blog post yesterday about the shock is wearing off, I feel like, you know, our body's natural response to stay tough and power through and be okay and make all the plans. I think that's wearing off a bit, where now we're getting into that steady, more of a steady tension, steady stress without that natural protection to take care of us. Do you know what I mean? It feels weirder. It feels more uncertain, more uncomfortable for me, for sure. And I've heard it from some other people that the novelty is wearing off, yet there's no resolution yet.
Absolutely. So this is not a sprint.
No.
You know, we're starting to recognize this as a marathon, and that your old strategies of taking control and setting goals and powering through will not work here. You know, this actually sounds exactly, it sounds exactly like my approach to my kids' mental health and addictions issue, which was, okay, well, I'm going to create an action plan and I'm going to do something. And, you know, it wasn't long before I burned out, because that level of intensity and focus on control it won't work. First of all, it doesn't work. So it's incredibly discouraging, and it's not sustainable. And it was a marathon and not a sprint. And I needed to, like you say, settle into the new normal. I needed to learn how to be different in order to cope with a world that was different.
Yeah, right? That's so key.
And it was, and like you say, there was a lot of grief in letting go of the life that I thought I was living, and the plans that I had laid, and learning how to take it as it comes. And that was one of my big takeaways from the weekend too, Lindsay, was take it as it comes. Just take it as it comes. Stop fighting it and just take it. And as soon as I stopped fighting, there was such ease. It's like I cannot let the river flow. I have to try and redirect it the whole time, which is like, why? Just let it flow, Maureen. Just let it flow.
Been flowing for millions of years, Maureen.
I know, it's going to flow whether you like it or not. So quit trying to fight it. Like, oh my God. So yeah, when I can learn to take it as it comes and just, like I say, settle into it, things are much, much, much better. And just notice how I'm feeling. Like I don't have to stay in my head, in fact, I can't stay in my head all the time, because when I do that, I neglect how I feel, which then, it's like a kid. If you're ignoring them, they'll just get louder and louder.
I think,
Until they crash something, and you're like, okay, so I just got to just sit and feel it.
yeah,
Just gotta
and be
feel it.
okay with moving through it.
Yeah, and recognize that I have a choice. I don't need to stay feeling that way, but I have to accept the feeling. And what else do I want?
Mm-hmm. What next? Yeah.
What else do I want to throw into the mix here? What else is possible? Yeah, good for you. So big things happening with pandemic. So what's been your biggest gift in this?
What, out of this whole thing?
Yeah.
I have been given opportunity to share this message widely and broadly. I have been privileged to have people call me and say, this is what I'm struggling with. Can you help? Do you have any resources? Do you have any tips? Do you have any suggestions on how I can manage through this? You know, it's real personal for people now. And so I am privileged to be able to help and assist, and like you say, really working to my purpose of spreading hope and expectation for a positive future, because it absolutely will be okay. It will be different, but it will be okay.
Yeah,
You know?
it will be. It will.
And I think net positive is a real key here as well, because it's not all going to be awesome, and it's not also not all going to be terrible.
No.
You know, people are going to die, but people are also going to live. And I think it's really cool. Like, I really feel like we're given an opportunity to self-reflect and eat dinner with our family, and, you know, clean the house if that's what you've been putting off for a long time, which also declutters the mind. You know, like, I really, again, with the intentionality of it, has been my greatest gift for sure. Just being able to share those messages with people intentionally. Like, I do these daily Facebook videos, at which, you know, I have to prepare for them ahead of time. So I'm learning so much more, which just increases my own hope, because education and learning is one of the tools for me to stay hopeful. So I have opportunity to do that in a more intentional way, and meet people like you and connect with others that have a similar message, who are trying to support humans in a similar way. I'm getting opportunity to connect with them in a different way, and it's very cool. You know, the day-to-day hasn't changed much for me. I already worked at home. So did my husband. You know, my family's not here, neither is his. So it wasn't like we were going to see them anyway. We always FaceTimed,
right.
You know, so I really feel like I'm thriving in this environment, in this
You're
time.
You're winning the pandemic.
Yes, I feel like I was built for this. I was built to come through it, and I was built to help others through it. Yeah, and I hope when we do the look back at the end of this pandemic that you know, proves to be true. But yeah, I'm very blessed for sure.
Awesome. That's a great perspective. What's your biggest hope, do you think, for everyone here? What are you hoping for others?
I hope that when this is all over, we don't go back to our old routines. That some of the things that we recognized about each other, about the way we work, the way that we build relationships, the community building that we're doing virtually, that continues in real life. I hope that we don't forget this time and go back to the easy, disconnected way that we were before. I hope the client that I work for continues letting people work from home, where they want to, where it's required. You know, I just hope that this new normal becomes something we take into when we have the choice to not have to self-isolate. When we have the choice to be out, I hope that we maintain these things that we're learning now.
That's a good message, actually. Take the great and don't lose it.
Yeah. Keep it going.
Keep it going. Yeah. Good for you. Don't fall back into your old mind-numbing routines.
Yeah, and that's one of the habit, building the habit around these things, I think is really, really key. I think we're doing novelty still, you know, and I think it's really important that while we're doing novelty, we create them into actual habits where our brain doesn't have to think about them. We just do them. That's how we sustain this stuff, is we create habits around it. Again, with intention, being intentional about creating habits, I think is what will help sustain it.
You are the woman of intention.
I am this is my word for today.
It's a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you very much for your time and for your message of hope that you've been sharing with everyone.
It is absolutely my pleasure. I love to talk to you. I always feel like I want to be you 5 years from now. So
that's so nice of you to say.
I reconfirm that. So thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll talk soon.
You bet. Take care.
Okay.